That looks very interesting. That's from Come From Away and Irene Sankoff and David Hein. They put this whole husband and wife team, you put this whole thing together. This is a play over at the Schoenfeld Theater on 45th Street. The premise of this play is extraordinary. Describe it.
It tells the true story of when 38 planes and thousands of people were diverted to this little town in Newfoundland on the northeast corner of the continent after 9/11 when the U.S. airspace was closed. And the people there opened their hearts and homes. They invited them off the planes, then they brought them into their halls, their schools, then they brought them back to their houses. They gave them, they let them have showers, they washed their clothes, they fed them for 5 days. They gave them everything, and they made these lifelong friendships. People changed their lives there.
How is it that we didn't know about this?
I think justifiably so. We lived in New York on September 11th. Our focus was elsewhere. And it just took a while for this story to come out to the surface because, the people who did this, they weren't looking for any type of thanks. They'll say right to you, oh, thank you was good on the way out. That's more than enough. And, they're happy now that they're getting recognition, but at the same time, they're like, we don't need it. We would have done it without it. And clearly, 15 years later, they're getting recognition for it.
Okay, so the people in Newfoundland.
Yes.
Newfoundland.
Newfoundland,
excuse me.
That's okay, that's okay, yeah.
So they're there, right? These planes are coming in. Mm-hmm. People are, and they don't know these people.
Yeah.
No.
And how do they connect with these people?
Newfoundland's based on this culture of welcoming people in. It's this rock in the ocean. They have these terrible winters, and they support each other. That's the way they stay warm, is by coming together as a community. If a stranger shows up at your door, you got to welcome them in because you're going to be in the same situation the next day. And they just brought them in. They just helped them unconditionally. We saw the same thing when we went out there on 2011 on the 10th anniversary, and we got invited into people's homes too. They wouldn't let us stay at a hotel. They'd say, don't be spending money on a hotel, just come stay with us, here's the keys, feed the cats. And then they'd leave, and we'd be at their house.
Amazing.
But the difference is, when they had those planes landing, they had no idea who was on those planes. They really didn't. Nobody knew what was coming next. And yet, they landed those planes, they kept them on their tarmac, they took people off of the planes, not knowing who they were at all.
And this was 9/11.
This was on September 11th, and they brought them into their town, into their halls, and then into their homes. It was nice and it was generous and all those nice things, but it was also really brave and really smart.
How did this story come to you? How did you come to the story?
So we're both Canadian, but we're living here. But a friend introduced us to the story, and we found out there was going to be a commemoration ceremony. And all of these passengers and these flight crew and pilots were returning there. And it's hard to get out to Newfoundland, but on the 10th anniversary, they wanted to be there to reunite with the friends they'd made. People had fallen in love there. Everything had changed for them there. So a lot of people returned. And we went out there, and there was all of this press looking for 5-second sound bites, and we didn't know what we were looking for. So we just started interviewing people for hours at a time and got invited into their houses, and then got, made friends as well who have been, following us for the past 7 years.
Okay, but where is the idea for the story? Where is the idea, hey, we're going to do this. We want to bring this, make it a play.
Right away, as we started talking to people, and Newfoundlanders are fabulous storytellers, we didn't even know what to do with ourselves. We had pens and pads of paper, and we couldn't write fast enough. And then we're like, I hope these iPhone things record. And they threw those down. And the passion with which the people who had returned talked about how grateful they were a decade later. We knew that type of passion can get translated onto the stage. And then with the music, Newfoundland, the music is in the DNA. You can't tell a story about Newfoundland without the music.
Everyone plays like 7 instruments out there.
What?
Yeah,
what are you going to do?
That's how they get through the winters. You go over to each other's kitchen parties, and you play music, and you tell stories, and you keep warm by dancing, and that's what our show's about, is this community telling the story.
Describe the title.
Come From Away is anyone who doesn't come from Newfoundland. So you're either a Newfoundlander or you're a come from away. So we were come from aways when we went out there, but we fell in love with the place. But the thing that I like about the title is it becomes, when you just put it out there in a little box, it becomes a welcoming message. It says, come here.
What's been the reaction so far?
Overwhelming. Overwhelmingly positive. The cast on stage describes it as physical when the audience leaps to their feet and applauds because it's like a wave of sound that hits you. And of course, we've only heard it from backstage or in the back, but even so, if people recognize us, we get thanked for telling the story so that people have another memory to associate with that day. Like nothing to replace it, nothing to diminish what happened, but it's another memory and it's a hopeful one.
Curious about this. I mean, there's so many things that are fascinating about it. By the way, tell everyone where they can check the play out.
Comefromaway.com.
Okay.
At the Schoenfeld Theater on 45th Street.
She's better at plugging than you are.
is.
My wife and I often say that we could never, quote, work together. Mostly because she would never want to work for me. How the heck does this work?
It's not for the faint of heart.
It's not for the...
It's not for the faint of heart. It's not, no.
But at the same time, it's great. So, what's wonderful...
What's great about it?
Well, what's great about working with your spouse is you've already solved conflict resolution and tension.
We've been married a long time before, and together a long time before we started working together.
How many years?
We've married over 15 years now?
Yeah. Got married
Okay, so what are the ground rules? Let's go.
Well, so don't talk about the show when you're tired, when you're angry, when you're hungry, in the morning with her.
Oh my God.
Hold on, wait a minute. What's left?
Not much.
There's a very short window to work on the show.
Where everyone has to behave themselves because we work in public so that we have to be nice to each other.
Yeah.
So you're peeved with him, but everyone's around and nothing. You don't show it.
Well, you have to show it in a professional manner, as if you were working in a place where there was lots of people, which you are.
And at the end of the day, what's great is I know that she loves me and I love her, and there's something about working together with someone who there's unconditional love, and we're aimed at the same thing, and we're side by side, and there's nothing better than that.
Do you guys do yoga?
No, we really are told that we should, but we don't. Yeah, I know. We sound like we do. We don't, but
Namaste. Come From Away, an incredible story at the Schoenfeld Theater. I got to tell you, this is wonderful that you're doing this, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the reaction continues to be. Irene and David, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Our pleasure.
Stay with us. One-on-One will continue right after this from Lincoln Center.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by RWJ Barnabas Health, the Northward Center, New Jersey Resources, ADP, Investors Bank, MD Advantage Insurance Company of New Jersey, and by Caldwell University. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.